One. Boom.
I'm
All
not
right.
ready.
Surprised, everybody.
Good evening, ladies and
My
gentlemen.
stream crashed.
Look at us today. Look at
Damn.
us today. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're
We
looking
have,
pretty fresh.
yeah, we went from 8-bit to 16-bit.
Next, we'll upgrade 32 once Brian can draw us better.
Hey,
Hey.
I made that joke.
Hey, fuck you.
Okay, and I'll make it public. So what, bro?
So yes, anyways, for those that keep up with at least what I've been posting on Twitter, I did post like a sneak peek into what I was working on. In this case, everybody here gets an upgrade, and I'll eventually also work on any of their recurring guests here too, that they'll get their own sprite pictures, or if anything, you'll probably get relegated. Who knows?
Just keep them their original sprite images.
You're right. It takes up less memory. You're right. But speaking of which, today's topic, we're mostly going to do a follow-up from like our data breaches stuff, and we're going to go ahead and list down the ideas of ways of how you as a person can protect yourself. And unfortunately, it's a trick question. The answer will always be never enough.
True, but you can definitely do a lot of things that will help some hacker man from taking your information. So yeah.
But if anything, I'm gonna at least say this. Victor is the one person that is primarily the good source of knowing a lot of how to protect yourself, or in this case, strengthening your data privacy. Bitch, you're the one that suggested this topic.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You motherfucker. Pull up the fucking Word doc.
I don't know
Let's
what you're
go.
talking about. Never, dude.
That's what I'm saying, bro. This boy just accusing me of shit.
Man, fuck you. Anyways,
I bet you would.
let's just go through. So, if anything, Victor, I just want to get you to talk about like what is your at least personal experience with, in this case, how do you protect yourself?
I just want you to get.
Yeah, I just wanted to get you to talk, man. Fuck you, Michael. I'm gonna say it now. Sorry, I'm feeling aggressive today.
I just want to hear your voice.
The boy is always aggressive. I don't know. Yeah, but to be honest, in order to protect yourself, you always gotta
deal some damage.
Yeah.
Do some damage. Become the hacker yourself and start breaking into other companies, like security. But anyways, on this series,
for everyone that doesn't want to just hack into other people or companies, I mean, there's a few things you can do to start off with in order to protect your online privacy.
Yeah. So this is the first time ever we're gonna pull out a small script. It's mostly just a tier list, but it's anything. This is more or less a script.
I mean, not the best script, but it's something.
But
it's our scripts that we have to read for our sponsor.
It's like NordVPN. No, I'm just kidding. We are not sponsored by them. And also, a funny thing, we will mention that company in a bit. So let's go ahead and go through this tier.
All right, so we have a couple of tiers when it comes to online security, and I split it up into a few tiers to describe to you all, to help describe the amount of security that you can use to protect your online accounts. So there's the lazy tier, and this lazy tier generally means using a password manager. So this is actually the very first thing you should do whenever you want to protect yourself online. And it's not necessarily protect in the way that you would normally think of, but essentially is to enable you to create very strong passwords and to be able to keep everything under one single account so that you only have to remember one password for your millions of other accounts out there.
Yeah. And depending on which password manager you go for as well too, if you ever need to change your password, it's mostly really easy to do. So that's something to like keep in mind with a lot of these password managers. Like the other like plus feature about them is that if there's ever a time where you need to just generate a new password over your old existing passwords, yeah, it could do it to you really simple. You can throw in simple rules about like how complicated this needs to be, throw in a space bar somewhere in between to throw people off. I don't know. Most password sites won't let you use it. But continue on.
Yeah, but for the most part, if you guys don't want to listen to this, listen to this whole podcast, I would say that the most important thing really is to just use a password manager.
Yes. Just
Now,
because
there's a few. Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, just because right now, like, it's honestly like the ease ability of having a password manager, just because we're coming into the day and age in the digital technology where we're just creating accounts like every fucking month. And sometimes, like, we'll get into the bad habit of reusing like names and passwords too for all these accounts. And a lot of security experts says, don't do that.
Yes, every account needs to have a unique password. All right, so that's what using a password manager will help you do. It will help you create a unique password for every single one of your accounts.
So in this case, what would you recommend for people then?
For which password manager do I recommend?
Yeah, which password manager that people can easeability could get?
I recommend a password manager called Bitwarden. I know I showed these two, Michael and Loy here, Bitwarden. That's what I tell them to use. It's free and it gives you a lot of features for being free. And if you ever want to upgrade it, it's like $10 a year. So it's really cheap if you need the extra feature that it offers.
Yeah.
So
it's
Bitwarden,
like, it's
always use password managers.
Yeah, you get extra features and you can also like have up to like, I believe it was 10 or 8 devices using it.
No, unlimited. Well, Bitwarden
Unlimited?
anyways, unlimited.
Yeah,
You can use it
unlimited,
on many devices that you want.
Yeah, so
What does
it's
the
really
upgrade
good.
do?
The upgrade gives you
Like,
the one-time. The main feature that it has that I use a lot is the one-time passwords. You know, those 6-digit codes that get generated every 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
That's built into the password manager, so you don't have to like have a separate app or anything like that. So it's all inside the password manager.
To really also put it to like another way to look at it, it's literally all the authenticator apps that you see on it, like Google Authenticator or Microsoft Authenticators, like those types.
Now, there's a big caveat. I might as well bring this up now. A lot of people have suggested that putting your 6-digit codes, your time-based one-time passwords, as they call them, into your password manager is like putting all your eggs in one basket. Because, you know, it's not, they don't believe it's two-factor anymore because your passwords and your 6-digit codes are in the same, I guess, the same account, same file. So if your password manager ever gets compromised, then your 6-digit code and your passwords and all that
it becomes redundant at that point.
Not redundant. The hacker essentially got everything.
Yeah,
but
yeah, they have.
If you got your password manager, if your password manager is hacked, then you have a different problem at hand. So, I mean, in my honest opinion, I keep them on the same. I keep them on a password manager. My 6-digit codes, my passwords, they're all my password manager.
Yeah. And so we'll also go into that too, because two-factor authentication, that's what we mean by like one-time passcodes kind of shit. So if anything, all the website that says to use two-factor authentication do enable that option. It honestly does a lot too for everyone that has an authenticator app and you are able to update it. The only caveat is this: never use the option where it texts you the code. Don't do that.
Okay. There's another caveat to that. For websites that only allow email or SMS, then I guess that's your only choice.
Yeah.
But here we recommend not to use email or SMS. We'll get into that later.
Yeah. So
but there's a tier when it comes to two-factor. SMS is the least secure. Email, it goes from SMS. So from least secure to most secure is SMS, email, the one-time passwords.
Yeah.
Security keys and then pass keys.
Yeah. And so in the other ways that you can also like try to make sure like these are the lazy tiers still. Literally the other way you can actually make sure to protect yourself is update and enable your Windows Defender. Surprisingly and shocking to a lot of people, Windows Firewall or Microsoft Windows Defender is by far the best security feature on any Windows 10 and up operating system.
Because it comes with Windows. It's free. All you have to do is literally enable it and update it.
Yeah, right? Pretty much.
And it's not terrible either. It's not like a garbage antivirus. It's actually pretty decent nowadays. Of course, it's still not the best, but it's still good enough.
Like it's
stop stop majority of threats.
Like, let's just say, like, we look like back in time, like, let's say to the early 2000 eras, when we were probably dumb enough to, we have like 50 extensions on our fucking Microsoft Explorer browser.
I'm sure people have 50 extensions on their Chrome nowadays.
Yeah, God. But in this case, what I'm talking about too is that, like, look at your address bar, and then there would just be like multiple like search bars that a person can have, and it's just like, why? Like, you can have like your regular address bar, then you have a Yahoo search bar, and then next thing you know, you have a Bing search bar, and then you have something ask questions search bar, and then all these other miscellaneous shit. This was back in the early 2000s when a lot of people were not aware that some of them could just be straight up malware.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So yeah, right now we gone into like a day right now too where a lot of our modern operating systems, they can really just rule out a lot of malware, at least the most common malware back a few years ago. Now, the other parts too that unfortunately this is still happening to a lot of people, but this is also can be something that can be easily like be addressed or fixed. And that all simple solution is don't answer unknown calls, texts, or emails unless you're expecting it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fun to troll them.
Yeah,
I mean,
if you know,
troll, but
yeah,
but look, if you know that they're spam callers and you want to troll them, that's fine. But for people who don't know and they just pick up the call and just start talking to the scammer, I mean, like, that's a problem.
Yeah. And it's like you would think that it wouldn't happen just because, like, who would actually do that? Unfortunately, there are people out there that do engage on this. Like, they will like give these people the time of their day.
There's still plenty of people who fall for these scams, fall for scams too, not just picking up scam calls, but literally falling for the scams. So don't answer calls you're not expecting, guys.
Yeah, don't answer calls, don't reply back any texts that you don't know where they're coming from, or emails. However, there is a big caveat too, because like I'll do some small personal story about me. It was also because the fact that you don't want to be answering that too, but it's hard to do this. So let's say you're searching for a job and you're sending out so many applications out there. And so you're just waiting on a call or an email to confirm. So you would just pick up any phone or answer any email at that point. But that was also like how I also pretty much, I didn't get scammed out of money too, but I just had my time wasted, essentially. So with that, that is at least one of the stories I will have. Like, I was going through a job application interview too. Turns out the guy straight up was asking me for like my bank account information on a job interview. I'm like, hold on, wait a minute, the fuck? I didn't even get the job yet, and you're asking me for this.
Well, they never asked for your bank account to begin with anyways.
Yeah, they shouldn't. But at the same time, as soon as I mentioned that, he hung up on me. I was like, this motherfucker. But like I said, as much as like it sounds dumb too to like be scammed through like a scam caller, it still happens to people. And I think that's another thing that at least one of the biggest takeaway about all this too. At least, yes, people that do get scammed, they shouldn't have been like in that position in the first place. But us as a people trying to help them out, do not shame them for it. That's the other biggest part. Because a lot of times, a lot of these scam callers and a lot of these scam victims never actually confess up to like their problems, just because the fact that they know that they're probably going to get ridiculed because they fell for a scam. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something
people just feel. I think people just feel embarrassed that they're scammed more than anything.
Yeah.
But also because people do ridicule people for being scammed. Like, how can you fall for this shit? You know.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that kind of idea. But it's pretty terrible. You know, like maybe they were in a position where they were very vulnerable, so they fell for a scam.
Yeah.
We shouldn't really fault them for it.
Yeah, just like what we talked about in our last podcast episode about pig butchering. Literally every one of them fell for the scam because of like the simplest thing, social engineering. That is the one thing that is honestly the most hardest thing to fight against.
Absolutely. Because social engineering is all about invoking that one part of human emotion that will just make you say everything.
Mm-hmm. So this is more or less the biggest takeaway message from that podcast and this podcast. Never shame people that are, in this case, scam victims. That's all I could say. But let's keep moving forward, because as much as like we will say this too, we'll at least still provide like other ways to like help people try to protect themselves, at least not through social engineering, because social engineering is something that you have to look out for yourself. With all these other things too, this is sort of less like things can be running in the background. It will protect you for sure. So these are mostly the lazy tier stuff. But I would even say too, like, don't answer unknown calls, texts, or emails. They could honestly be in any tier, because this is something that's just something that needs to be trained. It can't be like taught, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I was just saying, this lazy tier is like the bare minimum you should do in order to protect yourself.
Yeah, which is also one of the most strongest thing about social engineering. If more people become more aware about this, then it becomes easier to like spot it, and people can defend themselves, and that's the end of that, which is
But
great.
I feel like once we got to a point where everybody knows that this is a scam call, the scammer would just stop, because nobody's gonna fall for it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They'll just evolve.
Yeah, like we know the scammers would still evolve, but at the same time, so will other technologies fight back against it. It's like a ever growing like pushing back and forth.
Push and pull, yeah. Yeah, but
Yeah.
at the same time, while technology evolves and everything around us gets better, human emotion always stays the same.
So yeah,
So as
As
much
long
as
as
I
we
say,
can-
once everybody learns that these scams will happen in reality, it doesn't matter if you learn it or not. If it hits you in the right emotions, you're basically done.
yeah. But like I said, I do hope that this video does reach out to people to like at least feel more comfortable about it, or for those that have friends that know that their friend is a scam victim, at least approach with like a bigger heart about it, because it sucks for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's go ahead and go to the kind of security. But before we move on, is there anything that you two would like to ask us about, anything about cybersecurity? Just because this is essentially the realm that we are in now.
Why is SMS the weakest?
So it's a lot of things too, that there's a lot of softwares that a lot of hackers have nowadays that they can actually intercept text messages. Given
It's either intercept text messages, or there's a thing called SIM swap attacks.
Yeah.
Which means they port your number from your carrier into their own SIM, and then they're just able to use your number now.
Yeah. And now in this case, one of the most like in this case, the most hardest way that people could do SIM swapping is that these hackers, they just hire some guy in like some street to rob a T-Mobile or AT&T store to get their tablet, because that tablet will be able to do a lot of things that allow them to help do SIM swapping in the first place. So once the guy swipes it,
a little much.
It is a bit much, but it is one of the methods that they do.
The simplest thing and the most common one that's done is that they call into the T-Mobile or whatever representative,
and they just ask them to, yeah.
They ask to port your number.
Yeah, that's it.
Of course, you have to give plenty of information about yourself in order for you to actually port your number out of your carrier. But in today's day and age, when our personal data is literally everywhere, it's pretty easy to be able to, and public. It's pretty easy to be able to get to give your data to these representatives in order to get your phone number out of the carrier.
Yeah. So that's also one of the things that like you don't want to use text messaging as a way to get your codes in the first place. That's the biggest reason. That's also why emails are also not a great way too, because let's say like from our previous episode that we talked about data breaches, if they have access to, in this case, your email accounts too, they could definitely log in to your email account and just find their code.
Mm-hmm. But email is still slightly better, because at least you're able to secure your email.
Yeah. There's that.
You can use the security key for I use Gmail here, and I'm sure a lot of people do.
Mm-hmm.
So you can use the security key to lock down your Google account, and now they really can't log into your email.
Yeah. So that, at least that's it. It's more safer that way. But there are multiple ways how you can actually do two-factor authentication without risking yourself. that's about it. So, with that, let's
So
go
that's-
ahead.
That's from the lazy tier. All right. To everyone out there, this is the absolute most basic thing you guys need to do to just protect yourselves.
Mhm.
You know,
Oh.
obviously it's not enough, but this is definitely like the bare minimum of what you need to do.
Mm-hmm. And I'll even throw into like, even though you mentioned Bitwarden, this is mostly like a catch-all kind of software too. If you really just want like just a password manager and that's it, there's an open source a password manager called KeyPass. However, the only caveat to this one is that it's a little bit more involved to try to get it set up in the first place. That's what I use for a very long time. So I'm more accustomed using that over the Bitwarden stuff. But yes, I would still recommend Bitwarden just because it has a lot of user-friendly features that allow you to create stuff. And it took Michael like 3 years to actually start using it. I'm kidding.
To use what? I'm kidding.
Maybe not 3 years, but it did take you a while to actually start using Bitwarden as part of your like everyday like internet usages. So
Yeah.
So
All right.
with the,
So are we all familiar with the lazy tier of protecting yourself online? The most basic stuff here.
See,
yeah, Lloyd, stop posting your penis on Twitter for God's sakes.
Big penis.
God damn it. Oh, honestly, I don't know. I don't even know. Like, I think people will look, hackers will look at Lloyd. They put him at the bottom of the totem pole list of like, like desirability of his information.
Damn.
Exactly, dude.
God damn.
Don't be me. Be yourself.
Well,
I feel
if you
that.
want to protect yourself online, be Lloyd, I guess. That's also a terrible advice. Never mind. Don't do that.
Yes. Don't.
So let's go ahead and go up to the kind of secure tier. We say kind of secure either way too, because this requires at least like some level of due diligence of your online activities.
Yeah, but this is still not things that will really like be able to
Ensure.
stop a hacker. Will stop a hacker 100%. I mean, yeah, it will definitely slow them down, but it won't stop them 100%.
Mm-hmm. So let's go ahead and go through the list. Since you're the one that made the list, Victor, go ahead and list them out.
All right, well, first thing you should do. So this is going back to our 2FA, our one-time password, the 6-digit code. I'm just going to call them OTPs going forward. That just means one-time passwords. So when it comes to two-factor authentication, it would be preferred that you all switch to one-time passwords if it's available. I mean, not every website does it, but majority of them should do it nowadays. Should have one-time passwords.
Yeah.
Time-based one-time passwords. TOTP is the proper term. Oh, I'm gonna overwhelm everyone with a bunch of acronyms.
Yeah. For those that are sitting in and listening on this, fucking buckle in. We're gonna take you to the world of cybersecurity terminology. All right, Victor, let's go for it. Full speed.
All right. So yeah, time-based one-time passwords, TOTP, should be preferred. Is the preferred way of two-factor authentication. Is the preferred and most basic way. All right. It doesn't require you to have much any more than your phone and an app on your phone. So a TOTP app on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you should use this over SMS and email. So whenever you see this option, use it. Don't use email. Don't use SMS. All right.
Now,
So 2FA, we kind of beat that to the ground. We're going to move on real quick and discuss the next thing. See, in the lazy tier, we talked about enabling and updating Windows Defender, and we're saying that's good enough for like the most basic things. But if you want better antivirus software, then you'll have to buy a third-party antivirus software and install on your computer. Now,
most notably.
yeah, the main one I would recommend is Bitdefender. Wow, Bitdefender.
Yeah. Which, yes, it is definitely Bitwarden, but they do have a antivirus feature as well.
No, it's not Bitwarden.
Is it not? God damn it!
It's not Bitwarden.
false,
It's a different company.
Brian.
Hold on,
Damn.
what the?
Stop giving false information.
My
It's a
bad.
completely different company. But either way, Bitdefender, this is like considered one of the best antivirus softwares out there. So
Yeah,
if you want
it's
something better than Windows Defender and something that is really good and not resource intensive, because I use it personally and I think Brian uses it personally too.
yeah.
Yeah, so we use it personally here. It's very good. We like Bitdefender. Use that for your antivirus software. Don't
Yeah.
use any American antivirus softwares.
Of example A, McCaffrey or Norton. Don't use them if you see them, or if your company ends up getting those anyways. I would suggest pushing that to maybe your IT people to try to get a better antivirus software.
Well, when you're not there, when your company uses it, you really can't do much about it. So
You really can't.
But at home, personally, don't use
Do
it.
not use it. Yeah, don't use
They're
it for your
very
own
resource
personal.
intensive. Their antivirus software does not detect as
Like
much
newer.
viruses or as good as I guess clearing out the viruses. So they can't detect a lot of not as much viruses as Bitdefender.
Yeah.
And their prices are extremely expensive once you pass your first year of using them.
Yeah. So here's also the reason why like Bitdefender is probably way better than the other American brands. It's also because Bitdefender works tangentially with a lot of like the cybersecurity firms too that update a list of like known exploits, malwares, and all that stuff. They work together with these companies just so that one, they make sure that their product is able to detect a lot of those stuff. So this is also why Bitdefender, in all cases and intents and purposes, hey Bitdefender, do you want to sponsor us?
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, we'll take. Look,
Yeah, plus they're affordable. Look, they're affordable, very cheap.
yeah, they are
Like,
very affordable to just like everyday persons like me and Victor here.
yeah, like $50 for I think it was a 2-year subscription.
I
So
believe it
$50 for
was.
2 years.
Yeah,
That's can you spend $25 a year to protect your computer? I would 100% do it.
yeah. And if anything, too, Bitdefender doesn't just do like personal computer. They can also like if you set up your home network correctly, they could just protect your entire network.
Yeah, they could. Yeah, it could. But that
Yeah.
requires a lot of. You
Yeah.
have to buy something else, and it's really
Yeah.
annoying. But
Yeah.
hey, it can protect your phone too. You can install on your phone, iPhones, Android, doesn't matter.
Yeah. So those are really fucking good to have. And also, do not use Kaspersky if you ever fucking see one. That is a Russian spyware. You cannot prove it otherwise to be. Fuck Russia. Well, I'm not kidding, really.
Anyways,
Getting heated there.
Yeah, if I don't appear in the next podcast episode, you guys know what happens.
I don't know what happened.
Anyways, but let's go ahead and move on to that because this is pretty much antivirus software is still like a most important piece of equipment or piece of software to have on your computer when you go through the internet on a daily basis. In this case, Bitdefender, just as much as we would like to offer like alternative solutions, it's just that much better. I don't know.
I agree. I mean, it's hard to recommend something else.
Yeah. It's hard to recommend something else too because not only is it protects you from a lot of modern day exploits and like malware attacks or virus attacks, it also is pretty much is actively like being approved on as well. So and with that, you even have in this case, I'm pretty sure a lot of other like higher agencies that actually would use Bitdefender over a lot of other brands if they care a lot about security. In this case, I'm looking at you, AT&T.
Yeah,
Why the fuck is all of our account? Why the fuck is all of our accounts like texted or laid out in hard text and not encrypted? Moving on from that point.
All right. All right. So next thing, this is optional. This is a huge debate amongst the
Even like the people in the
in
infosec.
the privacy field. Yeah, infosec. This is a big debate only because the debate mainly is that if it's really necessary or not.
Yeah.
Some people argue yes, other people argue no. I mean, it's just a back and forth constantly. But essentially, our recommendation is You can use a VPN.
Yeah, use a VPN, but I'm pretty sure this is something that like people have heard about like VPNs throughout like multiple YouTube videos that you watch. Like this is sponsored to you by NordVPN or SharkVPN or this VPN and that VPN. There's
Mhm.
I think people are aware of what VPNs are a bit, but the only reason why it's a lot of times it's hard to really say that like this is what people need to use as well, because depending on what you do as a daily internet like goer, VPN kind of seems unnecessary if what you're trying to look through is like, let's just say Reddit for example. There's not a lot of content that's like locked away, I hope.
But it's not about content being locked away or not. It's just
Mhm.
the whole idea of a VPN is to ensure that nobody can read your traffic. But I mean, it's not necessary only because, well, a lot of computers are good nowadays at encrypting your data when connecting to Wi-Fi and stuff.
Yeah.
And if you use your data at home, then it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly safe. The
Yeah.
only people that are going to read your data, your traffic, your internet traffic's your ISP, your internet service provider.
But I want to hide it from them too.
I mean, you can. That's why you can use
That's-
a VPN. That's no problem.
Yeah, because those ISPs, they will, in this case, try to block you from entering certain sites. However, there is a potential like repeal from that, because during like the Trump era of administration, whoever he put in charge as like the FCC made it so that he gave more power to ISPs, allowing people or allowing it to throttle certain websites over others.
I feel
So
like
effect-
they're throttling my internet all the time.
I think your internet is just bad. There's nothing wrong about that. It's just AT&T.
No, they're throttling.
But yes, doesn't matter anyways, too, because that is in this case something that to be mindful of, because ISPs can definitely limit what websites you can actually visit if they don't approve of it. So therefore, VPN is necessary so that you kind of bypass around it. However, there's also like claims and whatnot too. If you're not careful, your ISPs can like tell they're like, hey, you're using a VPN that goes against our terms and agreements, kind of shit. And then that's when you have to fight it out. So
Yeah.
this is also why like it's not necessary or optional, but obviously, if there's something that you want to like access, but your current ISP is not allowing it, a VPN is nice. But there's specific VPNs that you need to use, especially like who knows if like whatever your ISP like eventually finds out, they find out, all right? Then you have to just stand on your own to try to battle through that. That's something that we all have to go through. But if we do recommend VPNs, Victor, do you mind listing out some of the recommendations?
Okay, hold on. Before that, one extra thing I want to add in.
Mm-hmm.
When you go outside to a coffee shop or something, I would recommend at that time you would use. That would be one of the main times you would definitely use a VPN, only because you don't want people being able to. You don't want some hacker guy sitting in the corner of the coffee shop reading your traffic and seeing what you're doing.
Yeah, it goes to like I use VPN a lot more because I travel a lot for my work too. So yeah, I would definitely want to use that because I don't trust a hotel Wi-Fi.
Can I make it obvious that I know he's watching by calling him out through my traffic?
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
smart
I
enough
mean,
to do that.
if
Absolutely.
you're smart enough to do that, and you know that hacker is there, but by that point too, that hacker thinks you're working with the Fed.
Hey, that's even better. That means he'll go away.
Yeah, maybe. But if you want to do that, go right for it, I guess. If you want to be that one agent of chaos within a hacker community, go for it. Like mess around with all the black hat hackers or gray hat hackers, but albeit.
Honestly, if I was that smart, I would do it.
Yeah. Also, I do want to placate to a lot of things that we do say too. One of the things InfoSec, with the term that I throw around, it just means information security. That's all that really means.
It means the information sector.
I mean, that could as well, but for this purpose of this episode, it's going to mean information security. Do not, I don't like in this case abbreviation of words that much too, because obviously you're going to have people like Michael that are definitely going to misrepresent what it actually is.
Well,
Yeah,
then
what
don't
does a
abbreviate.
VPN stand for?
Well, Well, anyways, let's also go in this case.
What
VPNs
does a
is
VPN stand for?
virtual
Come on, what
private
is it?
network.
There
No,
we
it
go.
doesn't.
Fuck you, Michael. But yes, there's in this case the other bigger caveat to VPNs, right? Because a lot of times some of these VPN sites are going to be very sought after by a lot of hackers. So if anything, instead of like
Absolutely.
trying to tackle you, they're going to tackle in this case the actual company that hosts these VPNs. In this case, NordVPN, Shark VPN, and a lot of these ones too. Because the way how a lot of the virtual private networks operate is that on your end, let's say your house node here connects to any other server that this company owns, uses that, and then it just relays that to another end node that you're going to reach at some point instead of making a direct connection from your house to that area. So
So
really,
let's take for example Google. You're trying to you're trying to access Google right now. What happens is from your computer there's an encrypted channel. There's a tunnel that goes from your house to a VPN server, and from that VPN server, that's when it goes to Google.
Is it a
Yeah.
quantum tunnel?
No.
you would think so, but
Unfortunately,
no.
not.
But hopefully that's what quantum computers would be able to do. But anyways, continue on.
But yeah, that's essentially the bare bones explanation of how a VPN works. It just goes to a VPN server. There's a tunnel, encrypted tunnel from your computer to that VPN server, and then from that VPN server, the traffic's then routed to Google, so you can access it.
Yeah. So if anything, you could definitely tell that like a lot of hackers, they would definitely try to target those VPN servers more than they would actually target you. Because if they get to the VPN server, they could definitely get to you from there. Because if anything in between, the hackers cannot intercept there. But if they can get to one of the relay nodes, they can go to you that one and then look back at the traffic and get to you directly from there.
Mm-hmm.
They'll
So
never get to me.
Michael, the last time I don't want to hear you say that shit when it takes you forever to get a password manager running.
Well, they'll never get me because I'll rarely be on the computer.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, cool. Because I'm the one that's giving away your information. They're paying me $50,000 for yours.
Sounds like you're the loose end I need to tie up.
What are you gonna do about it?
Tie you
But-
up.
Well, shit. Anyways. But yes, in this case, we do have recommended VPN services or companies that definitely you should look into. Such as in this case, I use Proton VPN, even though it's kind of free in the extent to, but I trust their services over, in this case, NordVPN, because NordVPN recently did have like a data breach or data hack that occurred in their company wide. So that's something that already puts like a false sense of security, because for me, when I use a VPN, I'm not in this case more caring about like I want to hide my tracks and whatnot too. I just want to, in this case, be able to hide or not hide my tracks. Fuck. I just want to make sure that like one, I'm protected at least, right? And I want to know that the
Mhm.
service I'm like using, their servers are definitely protected from like any oncoming attacks from other like bad actors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So take that what you will. VPNs is up to you. VPNs is definitely up to you, but it is definitely recommended if you're using a public Wi-Fi. I think that's the best recommendation that we can give to
Mhm.
people.
But also be very sure that the VPN you're using is safe.
Yeah.
Because if you use the wrong VPN, they could be logging your data and
Yeah.
logging your traffic, and that would be completely
Like break the point.
against the point of using a VPN. So make sure you do your due diligence when it comes to VPNs. They're very dangerous if you use the wrong one.
Mm-hmm. Now, then we get to the other more or less easier option, and that's also something that like I think there's a lot more people or a lot more options that people can actually use for this. And this, in this case, change your alternative browser.
Yeah, change your browser. Just use a different one besides Chrome Edge and what was it? Oh, Opera GX.
Opera GX.
We use Brave.
Yes, we all use Brave here. It is essentially a Chrome clone, if you wanna put it that way.
Chrome
It's
clone.
Chrome clone. It functions very
Chromium.
similar to Chrome, but it's built on yeah. Okay, well, it
It's
works very similar to Chrome, and it has a lot of built-in privacy features. Like they
like
block a
it's
lot of trackers, they block cookies,
and
and they
indirectly
block
too, they
ads
block
too.
ads. Yeah. So yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah, so fuck you, YouTube. I don't need to have ad blocker if it's just built into my browser. What are you gonna do? Sue the browsing company? Hell the fuck no.
And
Yes.
they can't block Twitch ads, and that's so annoying.
Yeah,
What
because
is it with
Twitch is
Twitch
annoying.
ads?
uh, this is a separate topic, unfortunately, because it's a lot of things that's going on
Michael,
with Twitch
shut
right
up.
now. No, like I'm being legit for real about this one. Like, there's a lot happening with Twitch, and especially how they want to monetize. Because obviously, like we said it here before, Twitch doesn't really make money here. And if anything, it's costing Twitch money to host any of our live stream, especially right now.
Yeah, how much?
I don't know, probably like 200, because we're not streaming for that long. Really.
By the way, he's just making up words.
Yeah, most definitely.
me?
But
Yeah.
but there is truth behind
I'm
what I
making
said
up
as bullshit.
words.
But there's truth behind the bullshit that I've said. There's a difference.
Oh, you're making up words. No, yes, that's about right.
Damn it. But yes.
So yeah.
But so yeah, use alternative browsers.
Use a different browser, guys. Use a different browser. Just use Brave. That's the one we recommend the most. Firefox, DuckDuckGo is good. Those
But
kind
yeah.
of things.
But yeah, avoid using Chrome, Edge, or Opera GX because those websites are notoriously known, especially for Google Chrome. Even though like they've recently like trying to get out of a lawsuit for incognito mode, where they are still definitely tracking you.
Yeah, well,
like
that's the
go
thing
figure.
about incognito mode. Wait, that's the thing about incognito mode. It's not about. It wasn't about not tracking you. It was about clearing your data, like clearing your browsing history. It wasn't meant to not track you. That wasn't the point of incognito mode.
I mean, in some incognito modes, it even says that this is not hiding it from your ISP. I mean, like,
if anything,
you're only it's only local. It's not.
It just clears your browsing data, and that's it.
Yeah, but what's in this case, what is actually happening too is that Google Chrome is still saving your browsing data while people are using incognito mode.
Oh,
that's what they're actually getting. That's what it's actually like going through here. So with that, Microsoft Edge, it's technically, I mean, debatably, I would say it's still okay, but at the same time, yeah, don't like trust like.
Microsoft's Edge has so much bloatware nowadays. It's so annoying, especially with all the AI stuff. It's I used it once because I did like a Windows virtual machine, and Edge was the only thing I could use.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's hella bloated.
Yeah. So most of the time we don't recommend Edge anyways, just because like what Victor said, bloatware. For those that don't know, bloatware means unnecessary software or an attachments to like an existing feature that just slows down the process because it's trying to load those up. Just like how you buy pre-built computers, there's such thing as bloatware.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at you, MSI.
Every computer, bro. Dell.
Yeah.
Asus. Everyone.
Yeah. So that's something to keep in mind of too. Opera GX, you would think it's fine, but overall too, it's still like Opera as like the base core.
I think Opera. There's a lot of like I guess rumors that they're more of a spyware.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like
so I would avoid it. I wouldn't use it.
Brave just assume otherwise. Yeah, Brave is still good because of the fact that yes, there was a time too where they had like its own cryptocurrency coin that they're trying to do, but at the same time, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's an optional thing. If you want it, you can have it. If not, doesn't matter.
Yeah, but really, Brave's biggest feature is the fact that it disables, or in this case, prohibits a lot of websites to track you, just as the base thing, which is great.
Ads. And we're not against ads per se, but
speak for yourself.
Look, we are not against ads.
Looking at ads. Look, the only reason why we want to block ads, in my eyes, anyways, is because some ads and some websites are actually malware.
Yeah. And there's even a point in time too where even the FBI and NSA has stated too that an average American, whenever they're browsing through the internet, they should have some form of ad blocker. Anyways, just because the fact that I get it, advertisements is a way how people make like money and company and whatnot too. God damn it! Why is your Amber Alert popping off now?
I don't know. Why are people stealing kids?
Damn.
That's a solid question, actually.
Yeah, shit. I don't know. I'm not gonna look into that further.
Anyways, ads.
Yeah, but it is something to be said too that like a lot of times the people that are hosting the ads, this is more or less targeted with Google, right? They are not doing a good job of like trying to filter out like what ads are allowed to be displayed to us, right? It could just also be like shitty games that obviously it is a bait and switch. Like you look at advertising, oh, it looks cool, but when you download the game and try to play, it's like, oh wait, this is absolute garbage. What the fuck? And to the extreme levels of you click on this, oh shit, I'm actually part of a phishing attack now. Fuck. So there's a lot of those things too that like Google really needs to like hammer down the advertisements. Once they do figure that out, or once they do state that they have this addressed and fixed, I think then people will be more open to seeing advertisements. Because let's be honest, it's not the fact that people don't like advertisements, they just don't want to see shitty advertisements.
Yeah, and I don't want malware when I click on one either.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody does. That is the only reason for that. And there's a lot of times tech companies and a lot of people that want you to use advertisements too. Just note that as well. They do not care about you. They only care because the fact that these advertisers will pay these companies money based on how many people look at the ads.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind for everybody out there. These companies do not give a shit. Look at AT&T.
I care.
Are you just now realizing this?
Well, if anything, everyone should have realized it by now, but you know, fuck it. But yes, this is pretty much everything that we have to say about the kind of secure tier, and then we'll start going into the pretty secure tier. This is something that like, this is something for people that like are.
Let me preface one thing. I think for the normal day-to-day usage for normal people, I think anything up to what we've been talking about now should be more than
sufficient.
Fine, more than sufficient.
Here we
That's
are
what
going
they're telling you.
Yeah,
but
that's what I'm telling you.
But here
we all know deep in our hearts it's insufficient.
Absolutely.
I've already stated.
If with that logic, dude, everything is insufficient.
See, if I'm not able to hide my information from the government, then it is not sufficient.
Bro, you literally your parents gave you all of your information to them when you were born.
Yeah, but they're not giving them to the my more recent information. All right.
That's already too late now. The hacker will probably just work off of like crumbs and they'll figure out who you are.
No, they won't.
But when we talk about the pretty secure tier list, these are people, this category is for those that are very much into the operational security, or OPSEC is the term for this. This is for those that are definitely in the InfoSec industry and they want to make sure that their computer is 100%, not really 100%, but they are for sure that if a hacker tries to like target them, they will have such an annoying time to try to get any information out of them, just because there's so much like gateways that they had to go through in order to get to you.
Let me also say that you don't have to be an InfoSec in order to do all this.
You really don't.
This is all for the people who value privacy a lot and value online security. That's really it. Yeah, see, like I said, for normal people, you don't need to be up in this tier. But for those who do, those who want to expand their online privacy and online security, then
you are more than welcome.
Continue listening.
Yeah, because at this point too, if you got everything you hear, you can head off now. Please don't. We need the engagement here on Twitch.
No, please.
but yes, let's go ahead and go through the pretty secure tier list here.
All right. So the first thing that these we'll start using tools that may sound very odd to people because it doesn't seem like it's definitely not normal to be using these
Mhm.
kind of things.
Yes, most definitely.
First thing would be what's called email aliases or mask emails.
I use
So
them.
essentially, do you really? That's what I thought.
Why would I tell you?
This doesn't matter. You could have just said yes or no, regardless.
But I mean, it doesn't matter if you tell me because it's a masked email. I wouldn't know what your email is.
Well, I'll double up on my security and not tell you.
Okay, cool. I'll just assume
Yeah.
you don't use it.
Okay, it's good.
But yeah, when you use masked emails, essentially what's happening is that you create a fake email that then gets forwarded to your real email.
Now, this is really
following me?
important.
Oh yeah, I do. I have used that.
Oh, so you weren't even understanding what we were saying initially, then, huh?
No, I did.
Yeah,
But when you
bullshit.
clarified it.
But yes, yes. Go ahead, Victor. Sorry, I had to interrupt because Michael said that.
That's all right. Yeah, no, that's all right.
I'm just here for chaos, gentlemen.
God
But
damn
yeah,
it.
no, you use a fake email that then gets forwarded to your real email. That's a masked email. So I don't know how many people actually use that here. I use that personally. Brian has used that because I showed it to him.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially, this is to protect your email so that you don't have to like sign up to like certain accounts with your real email. Like if there's a newsletter you want to sign up to, you can just use a fake email, this mask email, and sign up with that. And so you don't have to give them a real email in case that they sell your email to someone else.
Yeah, it'll just be like straight up like they will look at it as like, what the fuck? This is actually useless because it's not going to go directly to him. It's just going to be forwarded to like a dummy account.
That will just delete.
Yeah, you can delete it too. I mean, if you
Yeah.
don't want a newsletter anymore, if you don't want it, you don't want whatever email that's being sent to that particular mask email, you can just turn it off.
Now,
It's very
Now-
useful. It's very
yeah.
useful. But the best thing, the main thing is the security side of it is that they can't link it to your real email
Mm-hmm.
because they only know your masked email. They don't know your real email.
Yeah.
So I
So
know my fake self, not my real self.
Exactly.
because like it depends. This is also really important for people that are also using social media, for example. So let's say like for sure, if you guys are using Facebook, I think 100% certainty you should use a mask email when using that site.
Mhm.
Just because of the fact that fucking Mark Zuckerberg is the one that literally will just sell your information without a care in the world.
So, and the best thing about mask emails, you can make a ton of them. You can make an unlimited amount of mask emails so that every account can be unique, can have a unique email.
Yeah,
So
that
they
itself
really
is
can't know who you are.
yeah, that itself is already like a really good security point. Just in the fact too that if a hacker wants to target you, it will only ever affect one account, and it won't be able to like affect like any other associated accounts that you might have used, such as people that are using the same email addresses to log into different websites. If you have a mask email, you can make as many like what Victor said, and none of it will be able to like figure out if you're using the same email or not.
So if you have the same email for your Facebook and your bank account, I mean, like a hacker, if they're able to take your email from Facebook, they can probably pinpoint which banks you use.
Yeah. So do be careful online, people, about that as well. So if you want to use like or if the people they want to like change up their email addresses to, what would you recommend to them?
The simplest one to use and probably the most, simplest one would be the simplest that's also free would be a site called IronVest.
Mm-hmm.
And also a caveat to mass emails. A lot of these mass emails, they have a domain that's actually blocked by a lot of websites.
Yeah.
This is a big caveat to mass emails. Of
Yeah,
course,
which
with
sucks.
IronVest, you can generate like you can generate certain certain email domains that won't be blocked by the website, but this is still a thing to consider regardless.
Mm-hmm. But
And then there's others.
yeah.
There's others of good email forwarding services like Simple Login and Addy.io. Those are good.
Mm-hmm.
DuckDuckGo has a email forwarding service now, and it's pretty good. It's not easy to use, but it's pretty good and it's free.
Mm-hmm. So that's just another thing that a lot of people need to like look out for. Really, is like just pay attention to, or like be more open of like trying to look for like newer like infosec technology or newer services that provides like these types of services, right?
Mhm.
Just because obviously with these, their full intention is straight up is in this case for the user's privacy. Now you could question if anything, like do they care about user privacy, because that means they're just going to get all the information, sell your data at some point. Regardless of that situation, if you've already taken the steps beforehand, you shouldn't really have to worry too much about this tier.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
regardless,
that is a good point. Actually, that is a good point. Like
Mhm.
these email forwarding services will essentially be quote unquote accessing your data in order to forward it to your right email.
Mhm.
You make a good point. But in
Yeah.
reality, like these services, their whole point is to sell you their security product, and if it's not secure, then what's the point?
Yeah. So you
I
just
don't know.
note
You
this
tell
too.
me the point.
Because I'll tell you the point at your
you're
ass.
not the point.
But yeah. So regardless of how you want to really view this as like an everyday person as well, the biggest and best advice to is just keep your head on a swivel and just know about like how a lot of the information is being like sent to people or it's being sent to
Guys.
other places.
Guys,
Mhm.
let's be honest.
More up.
The only way you're gonna escape this is by going out in the middle of nowhere and just living off the land like the good old days.
No, hold on.
Correct.
Before
But for people who can't,
What do you mean? We all can. We can all get up in unison and walk out in the wilderness
okay.
of Texas
For
and
pe-
do
all
it.
right,
for
you
people who
start
for
then.
people
They'll
who don't
never
want
find
to,
us. They'll
for
never
people who
find
don't
us.
want to,
And then we can go and squat on someone's land, one of the like 100,000 acres, and then claim
No.
it for ourselves.
Oh my god. Anyways,
Can't
you could do
stop
that,
might as well
Michael.
might as well squad Area 51 while we're at it.
Why?
Yeah.
It's a
What's
lot
your
harder to
logic?
squat
Why
on.
not? But yes, moving on from that point, this is for advice for people that still want to use the internet still. This is in this case our best advice, regardless. Because it's not to like straight up like say that no hacker will target you ever. This is pretty much putting up more barriers so that it deters hackers. There's a
But
difference.
it's not only about hackers, it's also protecting your data as much as possible. Of
Mhm.
course, the caveat is that the companies that you use are the biggest weak links, but whatever.
Yeah, you
Assuming
just
that
got to
they
do
can
your
do their
best.
jobs, assuming that they can do your jobs, it's your job to protect your own data.
Hmm. But speaking of which, too, we could also look at some of the more recent technologies that has been going around a lot more, and I feel like this should be like accepted more often, which is in this case using security keys for 2FAs.
Yes, this is actually security keys are extremely helpful in terms of deterring phishing attacks because the security keys have each key is like a unique key. All right. And on the website, they'll hold like a public key. And then your security key has a private key, something like I think that's how it works. The public private key exchange, whatever.
Yeah,
And so
that's not important at the moment.
well, essentially, your security key can only log into whatever website you registered it with. Say
Mhm.
Facebook, because I've done it with Facebook before. Or your Gmail. Yes, your Gmail is a good one. So whenever you register your security key with Gmail, only your key can unlock your Gmail account. No other key can. So this is something physical that's with you. This is not a software. This is not like anything you remember either. It's literally a physical key that you have on your keychain or something that you have to plug into your computer. in order to log into your Gmail account.
Like, let's say, for example, like what other security keys that should people look into? If anything, being Victor, we like talk a lot about like UB keys, kind of. Actually, not on podcast, but probably like off podcast that we talk to each other about. But yes, look into like UB keys, for example.
Don't you know we only ever talk to each other once we're on the podcast?
Oh man, I don't want to break the illusion. You know what? I already am breaking the illusion for some people, I guess. I'm sorry, guys.
For all of you who don't know,
My
we never speak
immersion.
to each other once we get off here. We actually just go and live our lives, and we just come back here every week.
Yeah,
Just to
we're
come and
actually we're
pretend
actually
we're friends.
AIs. We are actually AIs.
We're just reading off a script.
Hey,
The AI
that
is
was
just
part of the
reading off of a
contract. You
script.
can't say that.
Yeah.
What? I didn't sign anything, bro.
What?
And before Mike was
Look,
the one that got his
I'm the
information
co-host.
stolen.
I'm the co-host,
one
bro.
who's-
I don't have to sign a contract.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
But yes, let's go ahead and keep going through this because, like, yeah, the using security keys is by far like one of the strongest ways too. Because even if your account is compromised, the hacker won't be able to do shit because they themselves do not have the physical passkey that you currently have on your body.
Mhm. And these keys they're also registered. These keys also are registered to the website that you registered your key to. So that means if a hacker can't use the same website that you register to, like Gmail, they can give you a fake window that looks like Gmail, but the URL can't be Gmail.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't actually log in because it's not the real Gmail website.
Yeah. But on the other side too, you would think that like, oh, that means I have to insert the passkey, type up my 2FA and my password from my password manager to log in. This is the beautiful part about these passkeys. You literally just need to insert it into your computer and you will just log straight in.
Yeah, insert it. And then, well, technically you got a tap it thing, but you don't have to do much besides inserting it and tapping it in order to log into your account.
It's actually amazing, right?
Very simple, very simple. It's definitely something that should be, like, I guess should be more available to every account, but there's a big reason why it's not widely used. It's only because they're pretty expensive. I mean, one key is like $50 or something.
Yeah, it is very much expensive.
And not only that, every website recommends at least 2 keys because if one fails, you have a backup. So that essentially just becomes $100 already.
Yeah.
$100 just to protect your accounts. And granted, these keys aren't like, they're not fragile keys. They're not gonna stop working after like a day or something. No, these are very durable keys. But still, either way, I mean, you already have to spend $100 in order to protect your accounts, and a lot of people aren't gonna want that.
Yeah.
Which is completely understandable. However, there is a new technology coming out. There's a new technology coming out that essentially works the same way as these security keys, but on a software level. And it's called passkeys. So essentially,
to explain more.
they work the exact, like I said, they work very similar to how security keys work, except they don't need a physical key. They still need something physical to store the passkeys on, like your phone or your computer, or even these security keys. They also act as a passkey as well. So, yeah, passkeys are probably the better versions of security keys, and a lot more websites are actually supporting passkeys over security keys. So, whenever it's more widely available, I definitely recommend using passkeys. But be careful because they can be tied down to a certain device, like I said, your phone or your computer or some other thing like that.
So yeah, make sure, like, regardless if you have like a physical YubiKey or you have a passkey app on your phone, don't lose either of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because
password
again,
managers also support storing passkeys in them now. So you can store your pass key in your password manager, and then you can essentially use it anywhere. So it's very helpful. It's very useful.
Yeah. But mind you, do take this with ever so caution, just because this requires at least a person to be diligent, regardless.
This also requires the people to understand how these things work.
Yeah.
Passkeys are very simple to use. They simplify a lot of things. But if you don't use it right, because it's not very clear how it works, then you could be locked out of your account.
Yeah. Like I said, these are for people that have, like, this tier alone is pretty much like the OPSEC stuff. So
Or people that are very much into online security, like myself. I'm not part of InfoSec or anything like that. So
yeah.
Of course, why would you say that?
So, and then there's the other services too. That for me, I read this too. This could be straight up of like, this is almost to the point of, in this case, paranoia tier, which is another tier above this. But if anything, you could justify like why you put them in pretty secure tier.
no, look. So the next thing you guys should do is subscribing to a service that deletes your data online. Now, I wouldn't say this is really paranoid tier. I mean, I don't want people just having my data like that. Like they can put all the pieces together and then just essentially like impersonate me.
Yeah.
I don't want that. I don't want people just opening up an account under my name.
Yeah. Especially like, imagine like somebody opening a lot of false credit card accounts. So also for people that don't know where we're talking about for this one too, we're looking in this case, let's say Incogni, where their services is so that they are going to go around all to the data brokerage or all the data banks that are out there in the public as well. And they're just going to send, in this case, cease and desist letters or telling them to remove your information from their data sets. Because in most cases, there is a law that's in place right now where if you were to go out to these, like if you know where your data is stored, you could go to these companies and tell them directly, hey, I want you to take my data off of there. I want to opt out of that. They have to oblige by it. But the problem is the fact that they don't make that very clear. You don't even know where your data is stored. So how would you go? How would you figure out where your data is in the first place? So that's where Incogni does.
Yeah, and also these data brokers are companies you have never heard of in your life. I've never heard of 99% of these data brokers.
Yeah.
99%. I've never heard of all these data brokers I've seen.
Yeah. So that's also like a really good reason about it too, is the fact that like, yes, we have an action, like a legal action that we could do. But unfortunately, with the way how the internet is structured, there are so many out there that your data, the more you look into, the more you start to realize, oh my God, so many people have my information and it's spread everywhere. And I don't have any means of way to like actually like go out to each and individual data brokerage sites and say, hey, I need you to stop, because let's be honest, legal action takes like at least a year or 5 to actually resolve in the first place. So you might as well look.
By that time, 100 other data brokers have your data.
Yeah. And then you have to do that same action over and over and over again. And this is going to suck for that one individual person. That if you found out where your information is, good for you. But have fun trying to get them to still like take it off. They'll still do it. But you as a single person, that's going to take a toll onto you.
Absolutely.
So
now, Ryan mentioned Incogni. There is another service called Delete Me and Opteri. I don't even know how you pronounce that, but it doesn't matter. You guys should also do your due diligence when looking up these or any of these services that we recommend to you, because it's not going to be good for everybody.
Yeah, it's not going to be good for everybody.
The thing with Incogni and Delete Me is that they don't actually have that many brokers. They don't contact that many brokers. Yeah. There's actually a limit on how much they can contact. It's really interesting. Or how much they want to contact, I should say. But that's also because these are the cheaper data removal services out there. Opteri is more expensive, but they remove you from a lot more data brokers. So just things to keep in mind. Do your due diligence whenever we recommend these services. Don't just go out there and sign up for these things. I'm sure you guys aren't gonna just go out there and sign up for these services because a bunch of random people on Twitch said so. So
Yeah. Yeah. This is like, then again, that would mean that all advertisements that we're doing here is just not going to work off of Twitch, I guess.
not really advertisement, bro. Nobody's paying us. This is just coming from us.
Yeah, we're just shitters that are talking through Discord.
Yeah, essentially. So yeah, guys, data removal. You know, this is in the pretty secure tier. This is something, in my honest opinion, normal people don't really have to worry about. But you know, for me, I like people not to have my data. So
Yeah. But then we'll go
and
to like, yeah,
we'll
go
go
ahead.
to a
Sorry.
follow up. We'll go to the follow up of data removal, and that's credit monitoring. And this is a follow up to data removal because you want to make sure that brand new accounts aren't just being created under your name. You know, like new bank accounts aren't being created under your name. And like Brian said before, the credit card accounts and car loans and things and loans in general, things like that. You don't want just someone else impersonating you to create these kind of accounts because that really affects your credit, and that can be a very bad thing.
Luckily, though, a lot of like the credit card companies too, they are like really on top of the game on like making sure that there's no like false credit accounts being formed under a person's name. However, even though we say that too, it still doesn't guarantee 100% that they'll be able to track all false accounts. Oh shit! Sorry about that.
Bless
It's
you.
allergy season. Oh man,
Really?
yeah, allergy season
Yeah,
for me.
my eyes have been itching like crazy.
But yeah, but moving on from that point, my bad for the sneeze, and hopefully it didn't sound that loud when I'm editing, or else it's gonna scare the shit out of me. But but yes, in this case, credit monitoring side too. Luckily enough, right now, like a lot of these credit card companies, they are doing a lot better in protecting your information from that point of view. But like I said earlier, it's not 100% guaranteed regardless, because let's be honest, it's going to be hard regardless because there will always be that one person that figures out a way.
Absolutely. Always. There's always that one guy really determined to be you.
Yeah. For
It's a
whatever
weird way
reason.
of putting it, honestly.
Yeah. But if anything, I will say like some other like bad actors will probably be some Chinese fuck that wants to steal your information. You racist asshole.
Damn, bro.
I'm kidding. Like I said,
Hey, yo.
this is an example. This is an example.
Quote unquote.
Yeah, right.
Anyways, moving on from that. But this other part of it, we're gonna just move on for that because I want to say there. Okay, actually, not really move on for that. But let's just say that you don't trust the credit card company enough to do their own due diligence of making sure that there's no false accounts being made under your name. You could look into. I think you wrote on here identity card. Do you mind telling me what this
Yes.
is?
Identity Guard is a IBM company, and essentially, like I said, all they mainly do is monitor your credit, monitor your social media, monitor a lot of things. They make sure that new accounts, no new. What's the best way to explain this? It's not that they stop new accounts from being made. I think they warn you about new accounts that's being made under your name. And if you are a victim of identity theft, they do have like an insurance up to like $1 million or something.
Yeah, which is actually kind of
And
generous.
things like that. All these identity sites kind of have the same insurance, but essentially that's how they function. They make sure that if their account's made in your name, they'll tell you immediately, and then you can like stop it or something. And then you can then man, I lost myself.
It happens.
It's been a long day.
For those that are
long
watching
day.
this, it's been a long day, and this is also going to be a long episode. So bear with us, everybody.
We are hitting that. We're close to hitting that hour and a half mark, so we will speed it up after we finish this tier.
But yeah, but if anything, it does. But if anything, I'm already prepared that this is going to be a long episode that we're going to be uploading anyways. So, let's go.
Yeah, protect your identity.
Yeah.
Use a credit monitoring service to make sure that no new accounts are being made and nobody's trying to impersonate you. So They are expensive. They are very expensive. Let me make that clear. Once we get up to this pretty secure tier, which we're currently on, we start getting into services that are very, very expensive. Granted,
Yeah.
it's not like thousands of dollars a year expensive, but it is.
This is where
All
less
these
like
services, all these services added up together will definitely be like thousands of dollars. It could be like more than 1,000 for sure.
yeah. But the other things to also make note of too. This is also something that like you yourself, this doesn't need to be expensive either, but look for like softwares that are like open source, right? Because of what open source means for software is the fact that there are multiple people that are looking at it, and a lot of times the people that are looking at it are also in this case infosec like professionals that will like also assist in like implementing like a security code to make sure that the software is as secure as it can be, and it's also updated frequently as well.
In fact, Bitwarden is open source, but there's a huge caveat to open source is that that's the assumption that people have is that because it's open source, other people can just read through the code and make sure nothing's wrong with it.
But that
That
could
may
also
not always be the
apply.
case. But that may not always be the case. Maybe nobody reads the code, you know?
Yeah.
And maybe there's a lot of like bugs in there that will cause exploits and stuff. So you prefer open source, but it's not the end all way of ensuring that you use a safe software.
Mhm. But this is just something to like, even if it's open source, do look into it. Is the other best advice about that.
Granted, if you don't know how to like, I guess read code and understand code, it doesn't make a difference, honestly.
Yeah, it really doesn't. Even coming from me too, I can barely read a line of code without actually fucking giving myself an aneurysm. Because like that shit is like wizard magic to me.
Yeah, but open source is very nice, regardless. If you find good ones like Bitwarden, that's like the most immediate example I have.
Yeah, like I said, Bitwarden. If you're willing to sponsor us, we will definitely accept it. But
they don't sponsor anyone is the thing.
Okay, fair point.
But you know that shows that they're good. I see that as a good thing because they're not just trying to like get influencers to sell out for them.
Yeah, because like it is that good. That is all I can say. So with that, there's also the other stuff that pretty much is a no-brainer. Be cautious of web extensions, just because with the rise of like malware advertisements, there also is a chance that a lot of your extensions can also be compromised as well. So be careful of that. Now we go into the other stuff. Use secure DNS. Now, what is DNS, Victor?
It's a domain name solver. So what essentially that means is the domain name that you guys use to type into your address bar, like www.google.com, that will go through a DNS server that will then convert it to an IP address. And that IP address is essentially Google server that's serving you the website, the web page.
Yeah.
And so why this is important to use a secure one is because DNS can go through, or the DNS server, whoever's hosting that DNS server, could know like what website you're visiting. And essentially they can track you and stuff.
Yeah, by using like a DNS too, you're really just making it harder for like the person that's observing you to figure out where you're going at like a very cursory glance.
Yeah, so if you use a secure DNS, you'll be able to, I guess, not really hide yourself, but make yourself less visible to everyone else.
Yeah.
Because then the DNS that you're using, even though they're secure, they're still a company and they're still seeing what you're doing. But because they're marketing themselves as secure, you would hope that they don't do much with your data.
Yeah.
So there's two main DNS servers, secure DNS servers. One is Cloudflare. That's with the DNS IP of 1.1.1.1.1.1. So 4 ones.
Yeah.
So if anybody can set their DNS servers, then you can just set it to 1.1.1.1, and that will route all of your DNS request to Cloudflare.
Mm,
Or another option is Quad 9. And as you can tell, the IP of Quad 9 is 9.9.9.9.
mm,
But this is for more advanced usages. This is in the end truly not needed at all.
yeah. But we've reached the end of, in this case, the pretty secure tier. That was really extensive, for sure.
So, so the first three tiers that we talked about, and that took us about an hour and a half, close to an hour and a half here. Anything up to this point, I would say is the official cutoff point. Let me be honest. You don't need to go any further than this.
Now,
really don't.
now we're going to go into the levels of the fact that you could potentially be, if you're going up to this tier alone, you might be a cyber criminal at some point because there's no reason why a normal person would want to do this.
I wouldn't
Just
say you'd be a
saying.
cyber criminal. This is definitely not. I think you're extremely paranoid if you get
Yes.
to this point.
Yeah, you're just straight up paranoid where you think the walls are talking to you, kind of shit.
God
Essentially.
damn.
But we will
This is
skim through
essentially-
this because we'll skim through this actually because we're running out of time, and I don't use these services personally. I don't do these things personally either.
But we'll talk
But they
briefly about them.
But they are something I learned about, and we will talk about it because might as well get everyone exposed to it because whoever else wants to learn further about it, learn more about it, then they can.
Yeah. So in this case, we'll get to the area of, in this case, the same way how we do mask emails, there's even a step further where you just mask your home address, phone number, credit cards. That itself is something that's already like something that you would think that like a lot of times this is something that you hear from like spy movies, right? Where like in order to give yourself a deep fake cover kind of shit. Yeah, there's services that do that for you right now that you can do. Iron Vest technically does that. If you pay for their premium services, they will definitely do that for you. Now, credit cards, for sure, I would say this is mostly very important anyways, because of the fact that a lot of websites, they do hold your credit card information. And let's just say you're just not comfortable of, in this case, the website security of holding that. You could just give them, in this case, here's a credit card number. It's not directly attached to my credit card, but it will still charge through it. That just makes it so that, whatever, if that website gets compromised and they take your mass credit card, it will at least let you notify, hey, someone is making a charge under this account. Do you want to approve of this or not? And you can hit no to that. And it's simple as that.
Or if they've been hacked, you can just turn off that credit card.
Yeah.
It's literally like an on and off switch. You can literally turn off a credit card with these mask cards. It's pretty interesting. But yeah, you can literally just turn it off if you don't want, if that card number has been compromised.
Yeah. And I will say that's the only important feature out of the three. That's the only thing that's important.
Yeah, some other ones are pretty cool as well. Like you can set a limit per month of how much this card can be used. Like if you set a $300 limit, it can only be used up to $300.
Yeah, so you have at least like that type of insurance or that much control over like how much you want to spend. And you could actually use a mass credit card as a way to help you control your spending in the first place. Just saying.
Yeah, maybe.
But
so mass home address is very unique. I've never heard of this before. I didn't know you can actually do this. And I've heard of it. I haven't actually found like any real like, or I mean there are services, I've seen them, but I don't actually know how they work. But mass home address is so interesting.
Yeah, this could be something that like, yeah, that's something that we could probably go into topics about, like how a lot of these like, because like I would say using home address is something that mask home address. This will be something that like if you yourself are like engaged with cyber crime as well, so you would definitely want to make sure that nothing gets traced back to you. So therefore, using a mask home address might be something that's useful.
But caveat to that is the weakest link is the service that you use, the company of the service that you use.
Yeah. So do be mindful. This at this point right now too, we're getting into the other like philosophical to almost argumentative debates of between like which is actually more important over the other. Now,
I think in reality, if you really are a cyber criminal, not saying I am one, you wouldn't use any of these.
Yeah, you are.
You use shut your ass up. You wouldn't be using any of these services at all.
Hmm.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
But
Now, there is a
okay,
commonality.
Yeah, what is it?
There is a commonality, at least if you want to make sure that you protect yourself and you have full control of your information. People in this case would switch over to Linux. Now,
Yeah, but not everyone wants to do that. So
yeah, let's just say, for the example, for those that are not aware of like what Linux is, this is just another type of separate operating system that's similar to, in this case, the what you think of operating systems like Windows or Apple, Microsoft, or even Android. Linux itself is a very different from the very ground up. If you don't mind, like giving a quick explanation of how would you describe Linux versus everything else?
I'm just an operating system, bro. Like it's like Microsoft, but
Mhm.
but not Microsoft, but not Windows. It's really I'm not sure how else to explain it besides that.
Mhm.
It's literally just an operating system where you can have a lot more control over everything that you do.
Yeah, because at least nowadays, dude, Linux used to be like straight up just bare bones, where like you can have programs into the operating system, but it's not like as easeability as using a Windows operating system. But nowadays, there are
Yes, it's
people
not.
that are developing support that, in this case, allows people to use Linux systems a lot more usable.
Yeah, I think the only thing Linux can't do that Windows can is playing games. That's
Yeah,
literally it.
yeah,
Everything
yeah.
else Linux can do.
Yeah, Linux is for those that you truly do not have a life, and it's because of the fact that you don't play games at all either. You're just online doing a lot of this type of shit. But Linux is very useful in the fact that they also don't use that much operating like power as well. So
Oh, yeah,
there's that as a caveat.
very lightweight indeed. A lot more lightweight than Windows. So if you
Yeah.
have an older system that you wanna still use, you can use Linux. It will make it feel faster, more snappier.
Yeah. Now, here's also a part of paranoid tier, which is something that's also kind of a no-brainer, but it's also something that like it's actually a lot harder for people to do these types of actions, such as in this case, reducing usage of all social medias and reduce reliance on tech company software. Which that last sentence sounds like it contradicts to everything that we stated above us.
When you're paranoid, then yes, you have to reduce your reliance on all softwares because the more accounts that you have, the bigger like attack vectors that hackers can have on you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because now it's like really you're really just trying to like narrow down like how much information you're willing to give out to people, and even with that, so you have ways to do so. But in this case, the ways that we mentioned before, those are not enough. That's why in this case there's such thing as like server or self-hosting stuff. Like let's take for example, like Google Drive for all intents and purposes. All it really is just cloud storage. And if you look at the definition of cloud storage, it really is just the fact that you just store things, just not on your personal computer. And it's just like transmitted through like a network. You could really just say too, oh, I have like a NAS hard drive bay. I can literally server host my own cloud storage, but without paying stuff for Google Drive or Microsoft OneDrive.
Mm-hmm.
So this is more or less like we get to the paranoid tier list too, because once you start self-hosting a lot of your desired services, you start to understand how these services work in the first place. And in doing so, you have more control over yourself.
Yeah, you can start seeing how much data you can see. You can start seeing how much data that these companies can see.
Mm-hmm.
Like whenever you self-host it, because you can see all the data is going in and out of your cloud server.
Now,
so it's pretty safe to assume that this is what companies can see too.
yeah. So, mind you, again, this is something that like it gets to the point of paranoia tier, right? Because no average person would actually care about this type of information, nor would they actually understand what the hell they're looking at.
Yeah, self-hosting is not for the faint of heart. You have to buy a lot of equipment, depending on how much you want to self-host. If you want to self-host a cloud server, you got to buy like a few hard drives, a few big hard drives, depending on how much data you want to store to. And then you got to like learn about a lot of things. If you want to have it publicly accessed through the internet, you have to do a lot of things to ensure that people just don't go in and steal your data. And it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
I
And
do it
also,
because it's fun, not because I really need that level of privacy, honestly.
yeah. And also like the added hints of maybe some undiagnosed ADHD.
Yeah, I would say so too. Yeah.
Like literally nobody would ever do this type of shit. No one would ever have the time to do that unless this is something that you genuinely like as part of the infosec nature of what we're talking about.
Mhm.
This is more or less like we go to the very granulars of what makes the internet work.
Yeah.
And not a lot of
But it's
people
fun.
actually know. But yes, it is still fun. I like listening in this case, the Darknet Diaries. That's honestly the only way how I actually know about these types of shit is because I listen to a podcast that talks about like people using the internet and all the hackers that he interviews and whatnot. All that type of shit. If you really want to have like a better person to like learn about this type of shit, look up in this case a streamer called the Pirate Software. He is a ex hacker that used to work for like a lot of like not criminal organization, but in this case he does a lot of cybercrime investigation work too, and he also worked at a lot of tech industry. So if anybody has more experience and much more credibility of what he's talking about, go to the Pirate Software. He is a really genuine good dude.
So it's an all-around good dude.
Yeah, there's nothing really terrible about him versus like other streamers.
Nothing terrible at all about him.
Like I want to say that there is like something caveat about it, but I genuinely couldn't. The man keeps a clean track, probably because of the nature. Good for him. But I'll be like this too. That gets into then we go to the ultra paranoid tier, or this is what we like to call it, the Edward Snowden tier. Now, why do we call this as that too? Because this is to the point in time too where you are really in the weeds.
Yeah, you're definitely being chased by someone, and you
Yeah.
gotta
The
you gotta
state.
figure out the state, and you gotta figure out all ways to hide yourself from the internet while still using the internet, of course.
Yeah, because literally every day in life in our society right now, we cannot live without the internet. How else are we going to look at porn?
Yes, of course. Yes.
But moving on from that, what? But even from the ultra paranoid tier, there's the exception that you can apply this from every other tier. For the ultra paranoid tier, forget everything that you've heard from this point on, because this is something straight up different.
This is something that uses nothing from what you've heard of before. Like nothing up to this point.
So this case,
there's specific software that you use that I know of. There could be more, but this is what I know of. I'm sure there's way more than how much we have here. But you have to use a specific secure operating system. One is called Cubes OS, and another one is called Tails OS. And the unique thing about these OS is that Tails runs off of a USB, so that you can literally plug into any device that you want, and you can use it. Right. And you got Cube OS. And the unique thing about Cubes OS is that each program that you use is its own container. It's its own virtual machine. And if you don't understand what I'm saying, then yeah, this tier is not for you.
Clearly it isn't, but we'll do our best to explain it.
No need to explain, because if you really are part of this tier, you would probably know about this already, honestly.
Yeah, you will already know about this at this point too, but let's just go ahead and describe it to people regardless.
Mm-hmm. So essentially, a virtual machine is a full-fledged computer on a virtual computer on your computer, if that made any sense.
So think of like the movie Inception, where it's a dream within a dream, but apply that logic to virtual machines, where it is like what Victor said, you allocate some parts of your computer to be its own separate computer within your computer.
Yeah, it's a virtual computer within your physical computer.
Now, why this is a lot useful to a lot of people, because instead of like being for cybercrime, this is actually very useful for those that want to self-host or they want to run a server in their own area. Such as the fact that you have like a virtual machine that runs and manages like all these other things too. But if one of your virtual machine ever does get compromised, they can only work within the virtual machine and not your overall computer.
Mm-hmm.
Because in your local machine, you can look into the virtual machine. But if somebody was able to get in from outside, they are not able to go out of it because it's like a one-way tunnel.
Yeah, they're locked in the virtual machine essentially. So if one program gets compromised, then only that program and that virtual machine gets compromised.
Hell, you have even some people too that set up like virtual machine baits where if a hacker gets in, they can have like a separate software that runs if they detect someone is in and they will just try to attack the hacker. That's when it gets really crazy.
That's when it gets fun.
Yeah, that's where the fun begins. But I digress. This is something else that, again, no one should ever really consider doing this unless you are either Edward Snowden or you would become the national security threat.
God,
Just
don't listen
saying.
to those guys. Don't listen to those. We're just spewing shit out of our ass right now.
Yeah, for all we know, this is completely unconfirmed. This is nothing that we do for sure that we are not hiding anything.
Past 10:30 is our schizo. This is our schizo kicking in.
Yeah, this is our schizo hours kicking through right now. So let's keep going, baby.
This is the special after hours.
Can we change the theme to the night theme now?
I don't have that set up. Fuck you.
Badge.
Hey, man, I didn't.
Bro.
But let's keep going through with this. So we have in this case Graphene OS and Calyx OS. What are those?
This is Android specific OSs.
Okay,
just
so
like
irrelevant
Cube's
people.
OS for
I'm
like,
kidding.
It's like Cube's OS is for desktop, Calyx OS and Graphene OS is for Android.
Yeah,
And
pretty
they
much
function the same way. Essentially, they're just de-Googled OS, which means there's no Google apps of any kind on there. It's just literally made to be as private as possible.
Mm-hmm. So pretty much, yeah, just consider what we already talked about like just a few minutes ago. Now you can have it as a smartphone, which is actually kind of crazy.
It is. It's very annoying.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's very annoying to set up. And you can only use it for like Google Pixel devices. Funny, you can only use a de-Googled OS on a Google phone. God.
It's very weird. Yes.
Go.
Now, then we have stuff that's called Tor browser. You probably have, anybody listening, as you guys will definitely have heard like Tor browser being used for, as that's a way how you go into the dark net, which it's also
The
like
deep web.
partially the deep web, which is partially,
Dark web.
yeah, partially it's true, but there's other features about it that obviously how it functions versus like why it works the way it does. But in terms of like everyday person too, yes, you use this to get to the deep web or the dark web. That's about right. But unless there's some other information that you want to add into this to make it like maybe a small like nugget of knowledge that they can have on there so that it's not just what the media tells them it is.
This is how Onion websites are accessed. This is the only way Onion websites are accessed by is through Tor.
Now, what are Onion websites? Because that's also another terminology.
So onions, they're called Onion websites is because when the Tor routes your traffic through the Tor network, it jumps through a ton of nodes, and each node is considered a layer.
Like an onion.
So that's why they call it like an onion layer. Yeah. The more layers you have, the more private it is, because then they can't trace it. They can't trace you through each node.
Yeah. But mind you, despite like we do describe like the way how the deep and dark net is, like how many layers you have to go through to actually get to this website, just note as well too that these are in this case websites that there is someone that hosting it somewhere on planet Earth at least. It's not like they're like in some deep dark underground section. No. People are still the ones that are hosting it. They are walking amongst us. But the problem is the fact that we just don't know who.
Yep.
That's about
and
it.
They don't know who we are either. That's okay. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Yes. Tor is used to browse the dark web, but it's also used to make your internet traffic more private.
Yeah.
Just something to
And
keep in mind. It's not like a shady tool that only hackers use and to use the dark web. It's private, and that's the reason why hackers and people who access the dark web uses it.
Yeah, it's primarily that feature. And then you have, in this case, the ultra paranoid tier of like you making sure that you don't want anybody stealing your information. Delete all social media accounts.
I say delete every account online.
Yeah,
Then they can't tie anything to you.
Yeah, literally delete any account that you know for sure that is considered part of the public domain, which is essentially the entire internet.
But let's be honest, it's extremely difficult.
Yeah.
You will have some sort of account somewhere.
Yeah.
So,
especially maybe you're, in this case, you have a Corey in a House forum account. Don't ask, please.
Yeah, I don't think I want to ask.
And then we get to our favorite tier, the Giga Chat tier of the best way to protect yourself from the internet. Don't use the internet.
And this is what Michael said in the beginning. Don't use the internet.
Literally simple as that. Just don't use the internet, and nothing will ever come to your way if you yourself start from the very foundation of your birth to say to yourself, I will not use the internet nor go on YouTube. Nothing.
No social media. You live in the middle of butt fuck nowhere on your acre lot that was squatted. You'll be fine. Nobody will know who you are. The government probably won't know who you are.
These are, in this case, not even Edward Snowden could achieve this level.
No.
These are truly the Neanderthals of our time. But yes, if anything, though, like realistically, no one is ever going to get to this tier anyways because of how much society has interwoven the usages of the internet in our everyday uses. There's no possible way that we can like escape from it. Even if you try, there'll be some ways that the internet will still find you. Whether if you want to or not.
I'm sure the Amish people will eventually adopt the internet.
Maybe I'll give them like another decade.
Yeah.
But yes, now we are reaching, in this case, the hour 52 mark of this stream. This is probably our longest stream that we did. Maybe I might have to check back on our VODs, but yes, this is a very lengthy episode, guys. Holy fuck.
We've had 2-hour episodes before, but just very rarely.
Yeah, just very rarely. But then again, this is a topic that me and Victor are, in this case, we believe that this is super important for people, especially we are going to unknown times of the internet with the rise of like people using AI to create like false people, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the less information you have about yourself online, the less likely that your information will be used to be part of like a scam network, a botnet network, or even like AI like data set pool. It's really is just that important. And as much as like it's hard to, right? Because at the very end of the day, Loy, based on what you heard as well too, how many of these practices do you think you can realistically apply to yourself?
I'm a lazy ass motherfucker. I'll probably just use Bitwarden, to be honest with you.
Exactly. That's what I would say too. You know, like at the very, very, very least, you should use a password manager.
Yeah. Password managers literally go a long way for it. Like it already, like from separating yourself from the amount of people that do get their information taken, you've already put yourself in another pedigree or two above everybody else.
You do.
Just by doing that. And it's insane.
Just being able to have a different password for each of your accounts really does go a long way.
And honestly, that is by far the best advice that we can literally give people. If you yourself, obviously, we're not expecting everybody to become like their own version of like an OPSEC like specialist here. That is entirely impossible for a normal everyday citizen, just because of how extensive and how deep your information goes throughout the internet. But at least the most you can do is just create a password manager, and any new accounts or any known accounts that you have to, if you could change your passwords, do so soon. And if you know that on the news that your accounts gets compromised, you could definitely easily change it. There's nothing wrong with like how what we said as our lazy tier, that these are terrible advices at all. These are still good advice, and it's something that already will give you the most bang for your buck. Just don't go to the paranoid tier. Just don't go up to that point, because if you're dead too, should we be concerned?
Oh yeah, I would absolutely be concerned about that person. I mean, why would you need all this stuff?
Yeah, Victor, what the fuck's wrong with you?
I'm not up to paranoid tier yet, bro. Calm down.
But yes, like I said, we're going into a very scary age in human history right now with the way how the internet is exponentially growing. So the most we can really do right now, really, yeah, just get a password manager. Subscribe to like Bitwarden or Bitdefender. Those are probably like the best software websites for security. And it's been vetted by a lot of OPSEC specialists that, yes, this is really good place to like, if you want to protect your data and your computer, use these softwares. Nothing wrong with them. But man,
well, that was a lot of things to go through. That was a lot of nonsense we just spoke there, guys.
Yeah, I'm sorry that like.
Hope you guys can, I guess, follow as much as you could.
Or like, if there's
definitely that was definitely way more than what normal people should actually do, honestly.
But yeah, I do hope that like at the very end of the day too, there is essentially like something that you could take away from our videos here, because we are probably not the first one to even talk about this either. There's so many others that will probably explain it way more. But obviously, we're probably just helping people to like kind of just introduce the idea to like how extensive all of this can be.
Look, we may not be the first one to talk about this, but there sure are plenty of people who have never heard of anything that we've talked about today. So
yeah,
maybe we can reach more people.
Yeah, I do hope that like this does reach to a lot of people. They do like become more active with their own private security. That's will be amazing, and that will probably help us, or that will probably help everybody out in the long run. So if anything, do you guys have any last farewell messages for our 2 hours live stream here?
You should just go off the grid.
Okay, without
just go full Giga Chat tier.
Yeah, without taking Michael's advice,
turn off the internet. Go build yourself a shack in the middle of nowhere on your squatted 1 acre lot.
Yeah, I'll go straight to Mark Zuckerberg. I'll go to Mark Zuckerberg's estate. I'll just go to his estate. He has so much room to work with right there. He'll probably never find me. But yes, like I said, stay safe out there on the internet. It's going to become a very dangerous place for us at some point, but it can be easily made safer for us with a lot of simple actions.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So until then, guys, catch you all next week. Stay safe out there.
Bye.